Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on.
We're back. I'm Tashee, and that's Ricki, and we're Too Literal. This week we are recapping Vicious Fae by Caroline Peckham and Susanne Valenti. It's the third book in the Ruthless Boys series, which is our current series in our Solaria series. I feel like I said series a million times. But previously we left off where Elise and Dante went to a club. Dante had some business to handle for the night. And when they went in the club, they ran into Ryder and Felix, and they barely got away with their lives, and Ryder spared them. We don't know why Ryder spared Elise and Dante, really. He said it's because he came for Felix, and it wasn't because of Elise, but I feel like Dante was spared because of Elise. What were you thinking?
Dante said the same thing kind of as we started, and I think it was kind of the same thing. I don't think even though he wants Elise to see his dark side, I don't think he wants him to see that much of him and like hate him essentially. So, but also I think that we're seeing Ryder kind of open up and not necessarily want to carry like the same sins as his dad, if that makes sense. So it could go either way.
One thing that I really noticed again was like after all of that, Leon shows up, right? And Elise again she doesn't kind of tell him what happens. Leon again is the easy place. Like he's always and forever. She literally will not tell him anything bad, like unless it's like, I got a splinter in my finger. But like, like anything real, she does not allocate to him.
I can understand why. I feel like Leon is just now tapping into him trying to be a little bit real. You know what I mean? Like he's still using Mindy's and stuff for everything in his life.
But that is an order problem. Like he can't help that. She's being orderist. She's being orderist if that's the case.
He can help it because he starts to help it at some point.
Yeah, but he still uses the Mindy's all the time. You know what else? Something that I noticed because they have that one class where everybody has class together. Potions, I think.
Mm-hmm.
With Professor Titan. After all the things happen with Dante and Ryder at the club, blah blah blah. Ryder goes missing, and Elise like notices, like like, oh, where is he? But she doesn't just notice he's not at class. She might have a little bit of a god complex. She thought it was about her, so she went looking for him.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he let her listen to that meeting and didn't say anything when she triggered the wards.
I wasn't surprised. The reason being is that we know that Ryder is more in tune with Elise, just like Leon is. I think he would be the second person that kind of actually sees her in a way. And I think part of him maybe knew that after that situation with Dante at his club, that she would need a little bit of reassurance and understanding on why he went the direction that he went.
And he also tells her about Mariella. Like he actually goes out and spills the whole thing about his story with her, which by the way is kind of traumatizing, like when you talk about it outside of like the essay that happens, but like the being laid in the box and things. Also, there's a correlation there that I'm going to note for when we move forward. Yeah, just like all the stuff that he was going through, the fact that he just turned into his order is the only reason he got away. I'm pretty sure that lady would have killed him. Like,
yeah,
after torturing him, I'm pretty sure she would have killed him.
Yeah, so the Mariella story was that Ryder was kidnapped when he was, 15? Was it 15 or 14?
13. I want to say it was 13, 14.
Most orders don't come out, and we explained what an order was, don't come out until you're kind of mid to upper teenage years. So he didn't have his powers like that, and she took advantage of not only him being a child, but also him being powerless. And Ryder, I don't know if he's opened up to anybody but the therapist about what happened to him, to other people that didn't know the situation already. So I was surprised that he opened up to Elise about it. But again, I wasn't surprised because I like writers.
To be fair, though, I don't feel like he opened up to the therapist she manipulated them. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like she
yeah.
played on because of her order gifts. She kind of made it. You can open up to me, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, Elise blows up the Killblaze lab after following her and not being able to find her. That was kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure
You
she's
think it was
like,
crazy?
it, I mean, it's crazy that it happened and it like messed up all the whole bathroom. She's virgin on pyromaniac here. I'm just, after after setting the the pit ball field on fire. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying she might have a thing for fire.
And I wonder why that is because none of her family are fire elementals, right?
No, Gareth was air. We never knew about her mom, and we don't know about her dad.
And even old
I think
Sal, I don't really remember what hers was, but I don't think so. So I don't know what her deal is with fire, but I think it may also have something to do with leaving behind evidence of herself.
okay. And then when Ryder tells his story, he also like just something I noted. Like I have like literal notes, but like he uh he mentions that he thinks Dante deserves to be in charge of the Obscures. I think they secretly like each other, and they don't even really know why they dislike each other because they
Well,
were
what's
both
interesting
victims.
is, yeah, later on, we see something come up about their dads, but we kind of see that coming out in them too. Like this war has been going on. It wasn't even their war. It was the war of like really their grandfathers, I think. That they have just felt the need to keep up without even getting to know the other person. And I wonder how often that really happens, like in life. Like how
Yeah,
often are we told we just don't like this person or this cause without even considering if we do or not?
inheriting like other people's problems and for no reason. Me and my mom talk about like it was this thing where it was like, why do you cut the ends off of a roast or whatever?
Hmm.
Like a daughter asked a mom that. She was like, well, my mom always did it, so she asked her mom, and she was like, my mom always did it, so they asked the great grandma, and she was like, my pen
Yeah.
wasn't big enough, like so I had to cut it to make it fit.
There's
So
no real
every
reason.
yeah, everybody else was doing it just because they saw somebody do it, but the initial person that started it had a reason. So I understand that, we haven't talked about Gabriel and where he's at. Even though he knows what Elise is doing right now, he's beating himself up with guilt, like
Yeah.
torturing himself with how much guilt that's going on about what he did to Gareth, even though he's established, like, I'm not the killer. It's like, okay, what did you do? Like, what could,
Yeah.
clearly she's looking for the killer. So what does she care about anything else,
But I'm glad that comes out in this book, what he did and that he wasn't actually we can finally start ruling people out that which I think we knew, but she didn't know, that he stopped at just beating him up. So I'm glad that that came out and they had that conversation and that Bill was the one that pushed him because a lot of Gabriel's issue is that he doesn't feel like he had any family and Bill just basically said that we're family regardless of blood. Um, and encouraged him to tell Elise because if you care about her, this is the right thing to do, even if the consequences would come back on you. And we see that she was relieved actually, because we still have to understand that this is not like a normal human situation. Like she expects Garrett to go through things that Faye go through and be beat up and heal and like all this stuff. And I
especially
think
after
people
stealing and
underestimate
stuff.
that. Yeah. And I think that, um, Gabriel underestimated that with her. I think he still kind of, not that he's ever experienced human emotions, but I think that he feels like she wouldn't be able to take anything happening to Gareth when Elise has actually been kind of open about the fact that he was being stupid in the
Yeah,
months leading up to his,
like what were you getting yourself into type
yeah,
stuff all the time. I feel like we have definitive ways that we ruled out people for the killers. Like Leon, it was like he was really his friend, and I think she kind of
yeah,
like found that like the I don't know, was it like a diary Gareth was keeping
yeah,
that kind of was saying that Gareth was
like a
stealing from
journal.
him, but yeah, like but Leon was never the wiser in anything that she read. With Ryder, I think the main reason she thought so was Killblaze,
Mm-hmm.
and when she found out like, no, we don't make that, it was like he was eliminated. And then when
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel told that like basically he just beat Gareth up and left him there to die, so he made him an easy target.
Right.
um Gabriel was absolved. But what about Dante? What, like, because eventually she kind of tells all four of them at the same time what's going
Right.
on. But what absolved Dante? Because I don't know what that is.
I think what absolved Dante is the fact that Dante is actually opening up about stuff that he has going on and that he was willing to make that is it a star bond? What is it called when they promise each other something?
Yeah,
Um
it's
star
Starbond.
bond with her, so that she knows that he's opening up and actually telling her stuff. I know that in one of the books he said that he doesn't trust her, because he doesn't trust anybody really, but that's not what his actions are showing. And I think eventually she kind of knows that. And I appreciate that in this book she started to look at other people too, like kind of broaden her search for it, because I know that, at the beginning we see Lorenzo say that one of the kings did this, but that could mean anything, and she's starting to understand that that could have meant anything, and then she took it too literally.
Oh my gosh, you're like right on path with my notes. It must be the
Aw.
ESPN we have. But I was gonna say Gareth and Dante made the star deal in order to leak the video of Ryder and Professor King, their
Hmm.
like sex tape thing situation. So that covers our star deal situation, but
Yeah.
also the other king that is involved.
Right.
Because literally her name is Professor King. I'm gonna tell you the part that like threw me the most off is when I always say this wrong. The FIB, I did it
Uh-huh.
right that time. The FIB called Gareth and was like, "Hey, we know you leaked the video. If you don't want to get in trouble, come to the prison real quick." And
Yeah.
he had to talk. He had to talk to Professor King because she's been, fired from her job, power shamed for sleeping with a student. Because basically, in the world of Solaria, if there is a power dynamic, you can't take advantage of it being the person in a higher position of power.
Hmm.
So, um, with Professor King doing that, she invites him to the prison through the guards and is like, "Hey, they told me what's going to happen. And if you don't want me to tell Ryder, you have to do something that I say." They wanted something to take the Lunar Brotherhood down, right?
I was about to say, yeah, they basically wanted him to get evidence that I can't remember if it was even Ryder or if it was both the gangs that they were involved in things, because the FIB has never been able to pin anything to either of the gangs, or at least not the leaders.
Yeah, so poor Gareth. Like, Dime was probably very, very relieving of stress for him because it's
Yeah.
Dante, Gabriel, Ryder, now Professor King, but also it just like intensifies like who is his killer. Like there's so many potential options for killers.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed Elise is starting to feel more guilty now about lying. I think that might kind of coincide with her kind of determining that everybody's not the killer too.
Yeah. But my question is, how much of that do you think is really ruled by logic and her actually finding stuff out? And how much of that is ruled by the fact that she's falling for these people? Um, and like, heaven forbid that she falls for her brother's killer. Like, do you think some of that is kind of to absolve herself of that guilt too?
I think it's kind of both. Like, like I think she feels like look, if we use Leon as an example, she was probably too far gone for him to be the killer and her to not want to, you know what I'm saying, kill him.
Yeah.
But whereas Gabriel with his old like, all the push and pull we talk about all the time, like the day he tried to kiss her, but then was like, "You're like a bitch in heat." It was a little much going on that day.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot going on. But I think much like Dante and Gabriel, or no, Dante and Ryder said, I pretty much feel like everybody's already in love to a certain degree. Very, at
Yeah.
least infatuation. So I don't know how she would have handled that. Because she says to them often, like, you can't pin me down. I won't be with just one of you. And like in the case of Ryder and Dante with their deal, it's like
Yeah.
if I can't have one of you, I won't have the other two.
Yeah.
So it sounds almost like she's willing to cut her own hand, cut off her nose to spite her face. In that
Yeah.
how they say that? Like, so I think she still probably would have killed him. Like,
I think she would have if it actually if she had solid evidence that they did it. But my thing is, how far does she really look into if there's evidence that they did it, you know? At some point she started to kind of back away from them, but a lot of it was not because of evidence she received that they didn't do it. It was because of the fact that she just felt like they weren't these type of people, especially Leon.
Yeah, I
She's
feel
never
like
even
he
seen him
was.
angry up until this point, till the end of the book.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of saw him angry with the Eugene thing when she was stalking, when Eugene
Yeah.
was stalking her, so he
Poor
stalked Eugene.
Eugene.
Like, I know that's so funny you say that. I literally have that written on my notes. Poor Eugene. Like, he always
and,
has something
and you
happening to
know,
him.
not to spoil anything, but Eugene goes through it in all of the different series in this
Mm.
world.
I don't think he was in Darkmoor. Well, I don't
I
recall him
don't
being in there,
I don't think he was
but
either, but in Zodiac Academy, which is one we'll eventually get to discussing, just poor Eugene. And I understand that different lower orders go through things, but I feel sad every time he comes up because it's always something.
okay, because he's like, "Hey, at least you want to be friends," and she's like,
I was
"Sure,
gonna
kind
say, even
of,"
when he
but
invited her to a movie and she agreed to be his friend.
yeah, she's like, "Why you invite me to a movie?" I think I would have enjoyed her having a better friendship with him. Just because, like, like
Yeah,
the part in the book where everybody was busy and she had nobody to hang out with, but then she went and found Lainey, and Lainey was in the
yeah.
middle of a breakup with her friend. Like, I think it would have been nice for at least to just have friends. But I do get that 4 men could probably be very time consuming. So
Well, but she also mentioned the fact that she's never really had friends. Like it was always just kind of acquaintances and her hanging out at the club with her mom and her brother. So now her brother isn't there. And I won't say I can attest to that because I've had friends, but me and my siblings are very close. And a lot of times, I think in our early adult life, we didn't know what to do when the other one was gone either. Like when my brother first went to college, it was like, what do we do now?
see, maybe me and my brothers are close, but we got closer as we got older. But I'm 9 and 6 years older than them, so like I
Oh
had to
yeah,
have friends, and I'm the only girl. Like I had to have
yeah.
friends. Like it wasn't just
See, me and my
us.
siblings were 1.5 to 2 years apart, and all of us also were in the same schools. We were in the same household, and all of that together. So we were attached at the hip. So I can kind of sympathize or empathize with Elise going through that because, like I said, we had friends, but it was nothing like our relationship. You know?
That's funny. My sister is actually 10 months younger than me, but we lived in separate households. We're close now,
Yeah,
but like yeah, we we kicked it
yeah,
in the summer times, but like for the most part, because me and my brothers lived together, it was different. You know,
yeah,
but you know what I found kind of interesting this book? Elise was actually showing jealousy to people. Like,
yeah.
um, when she found the video, because okay, Gabriel broke into the Kipling cache
Hmm.
last book, and got that video that Dante had on Gareth, but also it contained the video with Ryder and Professor King. So when Elise was going through the cache information that uh, Gabriel had gave her, she saw the video for her Ryder and Professor King, and she was jealous about it. She was mad, but she was jealous too. Like obviously, it's like, oh, he shouldn't have been taken advantage of, but yeah, she was more upset that he was out there, bang bang banging.
Not only is that irrational because of the fact that she is infatuated with four different men, but also there are really women out there that feel like you knew I was coming at some point. Why were you ever with anybody else? Like, I don't understand.
Well,
But in her
listen,
case, again, she's I won't say messing with, but she's involved with three other men, and sometimes I wonder how that works in poly relationships because is it just understood that all these people are faithful to one person, or is it open like always? I think maybe that's different in all the relationships, but I don't think
this
that's something
has
I'll ever understand.
this has nothing to do with anything, but me and my brothers were talking the other day, and like you said a poly relationship, but it's not, it's a polygamous relationship. She is the only one who's allowed with multiple people. Everybody else
Yeah,
is like, I don't know, committed to her. She's the
yeah,
uncommitted one. So poly would imply that everybody is like YOLO, but really only
yeah.
Elise is allowed to be YOLO within the confines of the 4 people.
So that is something we have to talk about because I don't understand the difference. I thought poly was short for polygamous. I didn't know there was a difference.
Yes, I didn't know either. My brother taught me that. And I could totally be wrong, but since I don't do it, but that was my understanding when I left the conversation.
Well, somebody's gonna have to introduce us to that in the comments because I'm very curious to know how that works.
That was that was my
So on the note
understanding.
of the video and then breaking into the cash, how do you feel about number one, Ryder coming up on her while she's watching all of this and her essentially telling him that it was her, and then she came back and told Dante that it was her. And neither one of them like wanted her to expand on it, even though they know that something is going on.
Um, so for Ryder, I think because of the whole pain thing, I think her explaining kind of puts things in perspective. Because like obviously he notices the type of pain that she's feeling,
Yeah,
because that's what he feeds off of. So I think you better understand what the pain is in this
yeah,
perspective. Yeah, like what? Oh, okay, so this is why you were doing this, and this is why. Because she told Gabriel and Ryder first, which, by the way, definitely most interesting. Because if I had to pick, I would assume that the less dangerous people to tell would be Dante and Leon. That's my opinion. Dante tends to be, especially because she could have framed it in the whole family thing. Like,
yeah,
like, yeah, even though he's dangerous, I think the honesty would have went further with him. So the
yeah.
fact that Gabriel and Ryder know first, I always kind of find that a little, fascinating,
Well,
a little
Gabriel, I think, found
interesting.
out by default. As far as Ryder is concerned, I agree with you because of his order as a basilisk. If you guys haven't been watching, basilisks feed off of people's pain.
His
Um,
own included.
and yeah, so, and that can be emotional or physical. And so a lot of times he does kind of read Elise because that is his order to know those things. And I think part of him understands that there's something deeper here. And I think she's even mentioned that she lost someone. She just won't ever go into detail about it. But I was surprised that she told both of them that she was the one that broke into this because to me, that tells me that you're investigating something and that you're looking into people that you're like these people that you're around all the time. So to me, she may as well have just told them then.
Speaking of telling them, so the way we get to telling them is through the Zodiac Academy exchange, which, by the way,
Hmm.
funniest stuff of my life. The fact that Leon was so upset that he was number 13 and not part of the first five.
Yeah.
Like the way he had to have his middies rub his feet and make him feel better about it because he doesn't know what he's gonna do. At least couldn't do anything to help him. This, I feel like, how we said at the end of the book, that's most the maddest we've ever seen him. I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably the most dramatic we've ever seen him about something too, because he feels so very entitled to go
But do you
to
think that he
Zodiac
regrets?
Academy.
Because I really think Leon would have been had he ever applied himself to anything in the top anyway, but he doesn't apply himself. And I think at this point, he's like, why didn't I do that? Like he never
I think
expected to have this opportunity.
I think that kind of goes back to being entitled. You know what I mean? Like just kind of
Yeah.
like I'm supposed to get it. Like, who would, like, of course you're going to pick other people, but duh, I'm going to also be a person picked.
Yeah.
It's heavy on the Seth energy right there. Like,
Yeah.
like, like, how could you pick someone besides me?
And that's funny because they're two completely different, not on orders and signs and like everything. So I don't I don't get how they're so much alike.
In the end, because Dante is a great friend, because Ryder, okay, Gabriel, Ryder, and Dante are already invited. Then there's like two other people. So Elise and Leon aren't invited. But Dante takes Leon to basically go bully and beat up Professor, or I'm sorry, Principal Grayshine. Is that his name? Principal
Yeah.
Grayshine? To get them on the list. And then Elise isn't even there, but they get her on the list too. So they go to Zodiac Academy for like a student exchange thing. And this is all prior to their game. So the student exchange, I feel like, went pretty good. Leon set up the movie night for Ryder and Elise. Remember that? To watch The
Yes.
Lion King before we went there. They actually convinced Ryder to get drunk, which crazy. Crazy. I can't believe he did it. Like, wow.
I again can believe he did it because I think he's a sucker for Elise, and Elise is really trying to, and anything she's tried to get him to try, like the eggs and the ketchup and like all that. This is just one of those icing on the top. I wonder if she has some type of complex with that because she always wants to feed it to him.
Did you ever finish Kings of Quarantine?
I think I got to book 3. I didn't finish the whole thing.
Whatchamacallit does that? The girl, I can't think of her name
Yeah,
right now, does that for Saint every time. Maybe that's something that the sisters just like writing in their books, you know? Because he won't,
it
like,
has
he
to be
has
some
like
type of kink. Yeah,
OCD or whatever, and he won't touch pizza. So,
yeah,
and that's like one of her rules. But like, I feel like, again, Leon is accepting Elise and overextending himself to
yeah,
everybody. Like, you know, like to make sure, like, she wants all of us. That's cool with me, bro. This is
yeah.
how I can be helpful. But also, Elise seems against the Legion mates. I don't know. It was something she said. I didn't write it all down. But like when they were discussing Elysian mate, she was just like, I would never be with one man. Absolutely not.
Yeah, but I think that's the misconception that has been placed on everybody that once you have that one person, then you'll no longer desire for or anybody else. And at this point, I don't think she sees herself with just one person in that capacity. And it's crazy because I feel like when she's with the one individual, like if they go on dates and stuff, she's not necessarily thinking of others, but at the same time, she can't see herself doing that long term. And
Yeah.
for somebody who is uh, polyamorous, because you told me it's different, I could see how that would be a scary like concept. And it's just like introducing marriage because people thought for so long that marriage was only between two people, but it can be between as many, however you want. Now I don't know about legally,
Exactly.
but it can be.
Okay. So when they go to this exchange, everybody is getting along. They do different events. They go see um the schools, but also they meet Orion. And Orion, well, Lance Orion is the star of the
Mhm.
Pitball League. But also Gabriel's been having visions about him practicing dark magic and how that might help, especially after
Mhm.
Elise had that whole event happen to her. So they make it a point to meet him, but they really didn't have to make it a point because he was basically their tour guide, and he is a vampire like Elise, and they're solitary order. So Gabriel kind of tells her like, "Hey, you can't fight him for at least 3 days. Y'all need to get along for at least
Yeah.
3 days," which they do. He kind of flirts with her a little bit, and everybody
Yeah.
kind of takes it. Everybody kind of takes it well, actually. Like everybody's not. They say no, but
They
they're
do, but
not.
it tickled me to see Lance in that light because we read Zodiac Academy first and we don't see him in that light at all. So this is before he went through what he went through to get there. And sometimes I wish that there was like, and maybe it is in one of the novellas. Do they ever really talk about how he got from this Lance that we see here and like really show us those images and how that transition happened?
Yeah. As we transitioned over to Zodiac Academy, there's origins of the Academy bully, and it kind of
Gotcha.
talks about the not. We kind of know what the change is, but we kind of get
Yeah.
to see like this the
Like
switch
inside
flip.
those people. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to
Yeah.
kind of see that happen, and see where with from being like super, like the things that changed him, but you get to see
Yeah.
it like happen in succession in like 100-page book or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
because the
pretty.
origin of the name Oreo and how that came about, because I just always assumed it was because of his name, and clearly it's not just his name.
Yes.
To make that a nickname. So, which is why I always recommend, just like you did after the fact, that people start with this series before they read Zodiac Academy because you see a lot beforehand that happens.
I was about to say when I recommended it to you though, I was reading Ruthless Boys. I read Zodiac first and then
Yeah,
Ruthless Boys. So I had just recommended the series I was reading to you. Then I was like, oh, it should have been done in this order after the fact. So I always try to go back and do
yeah.
it that way.
Which part of it is my fault because I do remember reading Zodiac Academy and I was reading so much at the time because I had free time on my hands. Clearly that those days are long gone. That I went through those, was it 7 books at the time?
Yeah.
And was it like a week and a week and a half or something like that? I went through all of them, and you were like, "Wait,
Wait, it's so much. It's so much.
yeah."
I know. I was like, I remember thinking like one time when I text you like, hey, where are you at in the books? And you're like, oh, I'm on like book four. I'm like, dang, you just started. Like, yeah, how'd you get that far? Like, how'd you get
Like
that
I said, those
far?
days are long gone. Yeah, part of that is my fault because I could have braced myself. But normally, when I get into a series and I'm reading something, like right now, I'm reading Helby's King, and I'll go through them like that. And now we do audiobooks, but even with Helby's King, I'm reading these last two, and we're on book 9, and that was what 2 weeks ago that I started.
See, that's hilarious because I was gonna ask you at the end of the session, like, what are you reading? I'm finishing Gold. I have less than 100 pages left in Gold. You should be so proud.
I'm still halfway through that, so I'm gonna pick it back up probably after
Oh.
Helby's King, especially since I'm actually physically reading again. And I've heard so many people argue that audiobooks are not reading, and I still feel like it's reading. Like when I tell you what number I'm on, that's included.
Okay, I was about to say I don't see how. I don't know. Right now, I have Alexa reading to me, so that's my life because it's no audiobook for Gold. So I have Alexa read
Yeah,
the Kindle version to me. But back to
yeah,
Zodiac Academy. So at the end, well, not the end because the end of the exchange with Zodiac Academy, they do get Lance to agree to help them, but they have to kind of be careful where they talk about those things. He does agree to
yeah.
help, but also they have the pitball game against Zodiac Academy their last day there.
Hmm.
Also, I almost skipped over this. While they're there, Dante gets invited by Lionel to his house because
I was gonna
Lionel
say
really,
that.
really,
Yeah,
I was gonna say Lionel really, really wants him to be a part of the Dragon. I don't know the guild, the Dragon Guild.
yeah.
That's what it
Dragon
is.
Guild.
And we meet the four heirs, Darius and Caleb, Max, and Seth.
Hmm.
We will see them again in Zodiac Academy. It's more about them in that series. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. Dante pretty tells Lionel to shove it. Like, no, I'm not interested. But Lionel's like, we're gonna make you be interested. They get up to a little bit of hijinks there and kind of piss Lionel off.
Yeah,
Coach Mars is not happy about that. So they have to
yeah,
go home. When they get back, they're still dressed nicely and everything. And Elise has to eventually come clean about what she's been at Aurora Academy for. She's been looking for her brother's killer. Dante is kind of floored by it, but Leon does not take it well at all. He basically accuses her of not being able to trust him and not seeing him for like the person he is, like on not even trusting him to like work through hard things with her. He doesn't take it well
yeah,
at all. He gets really upset. Like he storms out the room and another like nod to Ryder. Ryder goes to like comfort him. Not even
yeah,
I would assume Dante would, but I guess since he was processing too.
yeah,
Um and Gabriel is the one who kind of let it slip. He definitely was kind of like, when we're mated, you guys won't even matter anymore type
yeah,
stuff. And everybody's like,
yeah,
let it go. Let it go. But yeah, so Leon takes that very badly and it trickles over into everything else. When they have their game the next day, it doesn't work well for them, like at all. It doesn't, he can't focus. He loses the game. Even Orion tells them while they're on the field, like, hey, you need to get your head in the game. And Leon is just mad. He is only
yeah,
mad. They lose the game because Leon can't get his head in the game, even though Elise tries to apologize. It gets to the point where Elise tries to go to Leon and apologize, and Leon gets all his minions to keep her away from him.
yeah,
Like it's kind of wild. But also something good came of that because Elise tells Rory, Leon's brother, like, hey, because Rory's like, he knows I love him, and she's like, no, he
yeah.
doesn't. He thinks you hate him. He thinks you work purposely to get on his nerves. He's like, oh, but yeah. What did you think about Leon being upset? You felt like it was dramatic?
I feel like it was dramatic, but at the same time, I think I would be upset if this whole time I'm building a relationship with somebody and they were really there investigating me. And not only that, but obviously you felt comfortable telling some people this. That being said, I think that it says a lot that Dante wasn't the one that was more upset, because not only was she investigating him, but she was the one that led to Lorenzo, who was his cousin's death. Um, and I think that would have been more of a reason for him to go all left field than just feeling left out. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes Leon feels like, first of all, this was a big opportunity for him, and I feel like if I was Elise, yes, I would have wanted to tell them, but I would have wanted to tell them right before one of the biggest days that he feels like of his life. You know what I mean?
But I feel like Gabriel forced her hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She had a like I said, this book she's been saying she feels guilty and she's gonna have to eventually say everything that
But
needs to
how
be
many
said.
times has it come up that something came out about her and what she's hiding, and all of them have let it go? I feel like she could have had them let it go. Like, let's just get through the game tomorrow, and then we'll all sit down and have a talk. It may have been on their mind, but I don't think it would have led to all that it led to.
Agreed. So also Dante took her to go see Professor King while they were on their trip because she lives closer to that area. No, I'm sorry, Gabriel did. I apologize. Gabriel took her to
Yes,
see
they stole Ryder's
Professor King.
phone.
Yeah, they stole Ryder's phone to like kind of lie to her, like, "Hey, I want you," because Ryder said no.
Yeah,
But they pretty much she just confessed to the other stuff and how she didn't get the chance to kill him. She didn't do that. And they didn't because they used Ryder's phone. She was like tied up to a table or something, blindfolded, so she never got to actually see Gabriel and Elise
yeah.
there.
The fact that she thinks it was actually Ryder there, I wonder if I don't know if they left her with a threat. Do you remember that part?
I think Elise did threaten him,
Because she
like this,
already was like not
not
letting the situation go.
not supposed to be talking to him and everything like that.
Yeah.
It was I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this book had a whole lot of stuff happen, you know, because
Yeah.
even after that they pretty much have to go back to the drawing board and go back to the black card. Speaking of which, the fact that the black card is still like a mysterious situation always
Yeah.
kind of gets me like, why is that not the main suspect? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I get like following little leads, but that would be like my primary we need to figure something out focus. But they do get that
Yeah.
information from Orion where they're able to like basically neutralize the additional powers that
Yeah.
the faceless king person of the black card has. Um, so I think that was like super dope. He was able to help them out that way.
Yeah, I don't understand why that wasn't already a focus, if for no other reason than finding out they were distributors of the Kill Blaze, because we know that she feels like he was dosed with it as opposed to him to just taking it. So I don't know why she wouldn't think that it was somebody that was either dealing or you know.
Agreed. Especially like, and since she knows that, dang, I can't forget the therapist. I always forget her name. I always want to call her Professor Hospital, and I know that's not her name. But, but,
Nightshade.
Nightshade, yes, Professor Nightshade. Anytime somebody leaves her, they're all distraught. And remember, she ran into Eugene being all distraught there. And if you are going to be his friend, because she said she was going to be his friend,
Yeah.
um, I think I would have more of a check on him. So when they set up their plan to go like mess with King and mess everything up, and they're doing well, Elise gets kind of out of sorts when she sees Eugene as one of the people who might get, you know,
Like chosen
uh,
for this. Yeah.
yeah, chosen to die. But also, I want to give a nod to Eugene because he doesn't get enough nods for being strong and being like, I don't want to die. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard, but I don't want to die. Even though he had just told Elise maybe what earlier in the day, like, don't tell me it'll get better because it's not getting better for me. But like,
Yeah.
um, with her intention to save him while they're battling the Black Card King,
Hmm.
like when she sees Eugene, that's how she ends up getting like dosed with Kill Blaze too, and they're trying to run for help, and they're pretty
Yeah.
off their rockers on drugs, like like just unable to communicate and everything. And also
Yeah.
when they went to go fight the Black Card King, Leon actually decided to go with them, which I thought was super sweet. He was like, "Yeah, I'm mad at you, but like, don't die on me though." Like,
Yeah.
don't do dangerous stuff without me. Even though something was said, oh, because Ryder and Dante slept with Elise this book
Yeah.
when they were on the
I was gonna
exchange.
say we got to mention that they did away with
Yeah,
their deal,
they got
which
rid of.
changes. I think this book was about transitioning into like a new phase because a lot of the stuff that was happening or that she thought and all of that gets dissolved in this book. She stops lying about what she's there for. Their deal was dissolved because they really couldn't do it anymore. And they all find out more. And on top of that, not only her story is transitioning, but like the Dante and what's the dragon that we just said? Lionel
Mm-hmm.
thing progresses. Leon and his brother,
Everything.
Gabriel and Bill, like all those things are starting to kind of
Gabriel and
come together.
Orion,
Yeah.
because Gabriel notes that like I'm seeing visions of him, but I normally don't see visions of people who aren't meant to be somebody to me.
Yeah, or that I don't
So,
know.
oh, and when they are fighting the Black Car King and Elise gets lost running from Nightshade and trying to help Eugene, but also on drugs, he has to get the three other kings to help him fight his mental block through his visions so they can find Elise, because Elise ends up in this well that has basically is a killing a killing well. People just drop
Mm-hmm.
bodies there. She ends up in a well that has like some secret magic stuff going on, and she's also being chased by Nightshade and some other scary creature in the well.
Creature, right.
All that happens, and they're able to get to her through a lot of fighting, but the king's helping Gabriel get through his block. In my head, I felt like was a trigger. He should have been like, why they was able to help me and nobody else was? Who are
Yeah.
these people to me? Like, like
Yeah.
that happens. They save Elise, but I feel like the most important part in the cliffhanger part is Elise and Leon becoming mates.
I was so
I know.
excited.
I know that's I think that's my favorite part, and I'm happy that he was first. I feel like it with his competitive nature, he needed that.
Ooh, because we don't see that yet. Can't think of the word I'm supposed to be saying right now. Spoiler alert. There we are.
No,
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, that's the word I did say first, huh?
Uh, but I was a little sad just because I know that she has these relationships. Not sad for her, but sad for them because I know that they were invested. And I think it was different when everybody was getting equal treatment, but they all feel like she's going to be giving Leon all of herself now. So it was a little sad, but that's how we end.
And Leon kept saying they had to talk, but like they didn't get to. I did note that he was like, "We gotta talk," because I almost like, "Hey, I love you, but I ain't trying to carry all of you a lot of weight."
Yeah.
but but also I was kind of happy that it was Leon and not Gabriel. I know that sounds bad, but he's been kind of lording that over everybody because he never
Yeah.
confirmed
I
that
think it brought him
Elise.
down a notch.
I was about to say he never confirmed that him and Elise were actually gonna be mates. Like he just said he saw them both with silver rings in their eyes. Why couldn't they look at
Yeah.
each other if they had, been mates with somebody else? But yeah,
Yeah.
I was shocked that she said yes after she seemed so against mates in the previous chapters when they were talking about it in class. So that was like super exciting for me.
I don't think I was ever shocked only because as much as she was against mates, I think she was against more of having any of them out of her lives, especially Leon. So for that to have happened with Leon and she has to either choose to be with him forever or not be able to be with him at all because the stars wouldn't have allowed her to, I wouldn't have seen her making any other choice.
Yeah, I concur. I think that is all. I was gonna ask you as we wrapped up what you were reading, but you've already told me, and I've already told you.
Yes, it's Hellbeast
Um,
King by Stephanie Hudson. And this is one of my Afterlife spinoffs. So I don't know if I'm going to read the one about the angel, but I'm really excited about finishing this one up. I'm on book 9 out of 10. So,
oh, you're at the end, and I'm
mhm.
reading Gold by Raven Kennedy right now. I don't know what I'll be reading next time we talk because I'm in the middle of like 12 books. So
See,
I'm trying to
I
go
don't know how
back.
you do that.
I'm trying to go back and finish, but well, mostly I just stop and give up and like I want to read something better than this. I mean, that's what happened
Oh,
with Drawn to Glass too.
I also did start. So Helby's King is one I have to physically read because it's not on audio. These last couple books aren't. So the audio book that I'm actually listening to is the other one by the sisters about the vampires. What is it called?
Age of Vampires.
Yes, so I just
I
started
finished
that
that.
on audiobooks. So two books at once. But one is
Look
audio
at
and one
you.
is physically reading. But I don't know how you do
Proud of you.
12. I still don't.
Well, some of them I forget about it. And I just like, oh yeah, I was supposed to read that. Sometimes I have to start over, depending on how
Yeah.
far I got. But that is the end for us. We want to invite everybody to follow us on all our social media. We'll have it linked here. And also tell us who your favorite person for Elise is, whether that's Leon, Dante, Gabriel, Eugene, Ryder, just
Hmm.
whoever you think her favorite person is. It's been too literal. This is the end for us.